Welcome to Nugget 64 with Steve Groman. This is a continuation of Nugget 63. In Nugget 63, we start talking about the mountains rising up and the valley sinking down during the flood. Steve, can you tell us that verse again?
Yes, you're talking about Psalms 104, actually 6 through 10. Thou coverest it with the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At thy rebuke they fled. At the voice of thy thunder they hasted away. They go up by the mountains, they go down by the valleys. That's the phrase that means the mountains rose and the valleys sank down. And then it says, unto the place which thou hast founded for them. And thou hast set a bound that they may not pass over again, that they turn not again to cover the earth. He sendeth the springs into the valley which run among the hills.
And here's again a picture of Mount Whitney. This is the tallest mountain in the lower 48 at 14,494 feet. And below it lies Owens Valley. And this time we are going to discuss the valley. And here is a short video of us. Well, what are we doing, Steve?
Yeah, we were driving along down in the valley, and we use four-wheel drive quite a lot. It was a lot of fun getting in here, but it was a little bit rough, a little bit loose from time to time. But
we're trying to get to Red Mountain. It's this gorgeous cinder cone. The road sort of stopped, and we had to get out and just start hiking.
Yes, we definitely wanted to reach it.
It was a little too far. Then we realized across the highway, we could actually drive straight to one of these cinder cones. And that's what we did. And this is absolutely beautiful with the bright, what would you call this color?
Yeah, it's not really red. It's not really orange. It's kind of a burnt orange, maybe. I don't know what color they call that.
It's just beautiful.
And as you can see, it's massive.
And the color contrast here between, we'll call it red, because they call it Red Mountain and red cinder cones. The red and the black is amazing. Steve, what can you tell us about this red rock and the black rocks? I know that the red one, it's very fine, and then the black rocks are chunkier.
Yeah, the red here that we're looking at is mainly, these are the cinder cones, and cinder cones are pyroclastic fragments. There's just remnants of volcanic material that came out at a vent. The flows happen usually under the vent, under the pyroclastic fragments, under the cinder cone. Busted up pieces of volcanic material just pile up all under it and around it. And as we know, we've seen it, sometimes it goes for miles and miles. It's not just one little 100-foot area. It just is, it goes on. And that's what some of these pictures are, where this stuff came out from under it. And these are, the red is basically the vent. The cinder cones are the vents.
We drove down Tenemaha Road, which is the old U.S. Highway 395, through a lot of the Black Rock area. They just, on the maps, it just shows huge areas of lava flows. And you can see how it's just acres and acres of these black, jagged, very sharp rocks. And then these beautiful red mountains that pop up. We showed you the first one was Red Mountain, and then this was a smaller one across the highway. We drove on down south of Olanka to where there is another cinder cone. Here's pictures of it, and here's a little drive around the cinder cone. Just south of this large cinder cone that we just took you for a drive around is Fossil Falls. And as you can see in this video, the land is basically flat, but the falls drop abruptly, and you'll see this beautiful chasm that reveals spectacular lava flows. And the black shiny lava has been worn smooth, they say, over eons of time, but we know that's not true. You can climb down into the chasm and explore the lava gorge, and we actually did some geocaching inside the gorge. It was amazing. There is a sign that reads, Fossil Falls, sculpted by fire and water, land of fire. Take a look around. The rugged landscape you see today is a result of several periods of volcanism dating as far back as 440,000 years ago. The Coso mountain range to the east was an active chain of small volcanoes. They erupted many times, inundating this area with thick, slow-moving flows of dark lava called basalt. To the north is a dramatic cinder cone, the result of a violent eruption of trapped gases and molten material from a vent in the Earth's crust. The material cooled quickly when exposed to the air, forming a porous red rock called scoria. You may see pieces of scoria on the ground near here. Next on the sign it says sculpted by water. During the last ice age, the Pleistocene period, the Sierra Nevada mountains to the west were covered with ice. Several times during this period, large lakes formed in many of the basins between here and Death Valley. During these times, the Owens River flowed south out of Owens Lake into Indian Wells Valley. Volcanic eruptions from the Coso Range changed the river's course at least 3 times. Fossil falls were formed when the Owens River was dammed by an eruption and ran over the basalt flows, sculpting and polishing the black rock into the amazing geologic feature we see today. I've got a few questions to ask you, Steve. 1, fire, water, ice age, 440,000 years ago? I think they might have too many zeros.
That's the problem. It's one of the things we talk about, and I mention actually quite often. People sometimes think they can't go to museums or they can't go to see these kind of places, and that's not the case, because most of what the science says is true as far as the how things happened and what actually took place, because that's the science part. But when they start throwing in the time frame, that's where the problem comes in, because that is purely a belief system. But the Bible says in Genesis 7:11, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. And that's when the rain came. When the windows of heaven open, that's really cold up there. That water's out there. It hasn't been here. And then the fountains of the great deep, that's scalding hot stuff. When all these things are coming together for the first time in history, but it was at the time of Noah's flood. It has nothing to do with those long period time frames, but that's that worldview showing through.
So it's fire, ice.
Fountains of the great deep and the windows of heaven.
Probably more like 4,400 years ago.
Yeah, around 4,400 years ago.
It's kind of
few too many zeros on there.
Funny, a few too many zeros.
Mm-hmm. That's what they have, though.
Well, this nugget was about...
the valley sank down.
And then in our previous nugget, when we talked about the mountains of rose, we told you about that once-in-a-lifetime experience when we saw that poor bighorn sheep dangling from the bottom of a helicopter. And we also had a once-in-a-lifetime experience the first time we went out to Fossil Falls. Yeah,
it was really neat. We got there, late afternoon, and we stayed through sunset as we were kind of hiking around and just having a good time enjoying the rustic scenery of this old abandoned, who knows when it was built, corral that was out there. We noticed the sunset was creating an amazing array of colors in the sky, in the clouds around us. And it was basically a 360-degree view all the way around us. The sky just was on fire. It was just lit up. It might be one of the best sunsets we've ever seen.
Well, it was certainly the most vibrant one we've ever seen.
Vibrant,
yes. I think the only really other fabulous 360-degree sunset that we saw was also in California, and maybe one time we'll tell you about that awesome place. But for now, I think that's all for this nugget. In our next nugget, we will take you to Mono Lake and discuss the Tufa Towers. What are Tufa Towers? Well, learn in the next nugget. There are Tufa Towers at Mono Lake and Tufa Towers down where the Planet of the Apes was filmed, near Ridgecrest. That should pique your interest. Thank you to those of you who join and watch our Facebook Lives on Sundays and on Tuesdays. On Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Time, Steve presents a creation seminar lesson. And on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central, Steve does a walk in faith lesson. Please spread the word. So we are depending on you guys out there in our new listening audience to help support this ministry. I need to tell you how to get a hold of us and how to get these shirts. Well, first of all, they are in all sizes, and they are in white, red, and black, and white, red, or black ink. So you can just pick what shirt color you want and what ink color you want and which one you want. We have the 4 designs. Give us a call at 603-616-8907 or text if you prefer, or you can go to our website, creationseminar.net, and go to the orders form, and just in the description type in, again, whichever shirt you choose, and the size, the color ink, and the color shirt, and we will ship it out to you. Thank you.
Thank you.